Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and today we're going to talk about the first step of my 7-step framework of how to use the law of attraction from an Islamic perspective, and that is to determine what you want. Now, I know, I can practically hear you, Zara, I already know what I want. I know what I want already. Okay, no, that's fine. I love that for you. I love that for me. I love it for all of us. We should all know what we want. What I would like to go into today is to really understand what it is that we want, why we want it, and become a bit more clear and specific on the goals that we're setting. Because here's what I find happens quite a lot. Well, two things. The first thing is that we set quite general goals. We'll say, and I'm going to use this example today because I love using the example of money. So that's of course the example, but you can insert whatever other goal that you might have that is more applicable for you. But we'll usually set, I just need more money. Okay, that's a great goal and one that a lot of us can relate to. But what does more money mean? What does more money mean? Is it more money to spend on, just good times, shopping, dinner out with friends? Is it because you've got debt that you want to pay? Is it because you want your daughter, your son to start a hobby and that hobby is going to cost a little bit more and you want to make sure that you have enough every month to pay that off? What is it exactly? Because let's be real, more money to one person could be £100 more a month is enough. For other people, it might be 5,000, it might be 10,000. And for some people, it's like, I just need one lump sum of 44,000 because I've got this one debt that I just need to get out of, the system. And once that is paid off, I can actually live quite comfortably. So what does more money mean? Determine, what it actually means. And so how are we going to do that? Because we're not just going to pluck a number out from the sky to begin with. The thing about setting a goal, especially when you're new to the law of attraction and, you're really getting into it for the first time, is that we want to build our manifestation muscle. We want to make sure that we're doing everything in a way that we can keep up with it. We believe in it because the number one thing about the law of attraction comes to mindset and your ability to believe and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and believe that you are worthy of the things and that it is possible for you to get the things. So if you don't believe that the goal you're setting is really sort of like you're kind of pulling on yourself a bit and you're like, it's a stretch, I'm not really sure, but that's the big dream. And yeah, that's fine and nice too. But let's start small and build up the muscle so that these that would be nice maybe in the future if that could be possible becomes hey, this is actually a reality for me and I can have this thing. So what we're going to start off with is with a brain dump, really. You're going to sit down and you're going to write down everything that you want. Just don't even hold back, like a Ferrari and a Lamborghini. Why not two? And my kid needs braces. And I didn't say my kidney braces. My kid needs braces. Maybe you're looking for a new home. Maybe it's a partner. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe, I don't know, you want to refurb the kitchen. I don't know. There's so many goals that you could be having and that you really want. Maybe you want to set up a business. There could be so many things. I want a hamster. I don't know, whatever. But write everything down. Don't hold back. Really get in there and be specific of all the things. Like really just the big things, the small things. Maybe you need a new jacket. Maybe you need a pair of flip-flops for summer. I don't care. A trip to Hong Kong, go for it. So write everything down, and what you'll usually see once you've done this is what you'll start noticing that there may be a pattern around some of the things on that piece of paper that might keep coming back to the same thing. Perhaps if you're like, oh, I'd like to meet a person and I'd like to have children, I'd like to have a family home, I'd like to travel with my partner, I'd like to do this and that. Excuse me, little lady, don't rough next to me. You know better than that when the microphone is out. Yes, I see your pretty little eyes. So all of those things, for instance, could come down to, well, first of all, I need to manifest a partner, So that's the bottlehead that's keeping everything else sort of, nothing, well, some of those things, you can find a home, you can go travel and things like that. But if you want to travel with a husband and you want to have children and all these things, then, it comes down to you meeting someone. And that could be sort of the main focus of that manifestation to begin with, right? Maybe if it's something like traveling, refurbing the kitchen, the kid that needs those braces, or if it's a kidney that needs braces, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't ask me. I'm not going to question it. Whatever it is, the bottleneck of all of those is potentially money. And so there's your sort of like main focus and where it should be to begin with. So the next thing I want you to do is look at what's happening in your life right now, sit down and have an overview, and then figure out how much it actually is. If it's a partner, then you look at what should I be doing then. So if it's money, you sit down and you budget. You look at your economy now, you look at what's coming in, what's going out, and then you think about, okay, what does this thing or these things that I want cost? And then budget as if the money is already there. Make a plan for it. Give it a purpose. Give every penny a purpose almost. And it's okay when you're making this, when it's done budget, it's okay to, add a little extra, sort of like, oh, that's just pocket money, or I just got that to put in savings or whatever. You're allowed to do that as well. So when you're making this, when it's done budget, you're basically just doing it the way that you feel like this would make me feel happy, and I feel like this is realistic for me and this is available to me. So again, if you're being paid £2,000 a month and you want an extra 10,000, while that is definitely available to you, you also have to think about, can I believe that jump? Do I believe that it's realistic for me to make another like 8,000 or another 10,000 every month? It has to be realistic, because ultimately, remember, you do at some point have to go in there and create the opportunities for them to come. Allah, of course, can also go in and create opportunities for them to come, but it has to be realistic for you, okay? Especially at the beginning. Remember that, especially at the beginning. We're just warming up. We're building the muscles, okay? You can do all the quantum leaps and jumps and all that good stuff later on when you become more confident in your ability to attract. But for now, we start slowly. Okay, so you look at what's going on in your life. If you want to meet a partner, you're looking at, okay, well, am I on dating apps? Am I going to singles events? Am I being vocal about what I want with the people around me? Have I worked within myself to figure out what I want and need in a relationship? What kind of partner I'd like to attract? Those things. What kind of things could I do for myself so that I can attract that much more easily from another person as well? So look at those things. Become more aware of what's going on in your life in that sense. And then, my darling, you set the goal. And at this point, it is quite specific, because now you know whether you need another £500 a month or £5,000 a month to make ends meet. And then it becomes so much easier for you to look at that goal from a realistic perspective. You know where every penny is going. So it's not just like an arbitrary number you've put somewhere and plucked out of the sky and been like, yeah, that. And then, you're like, I'll figure out what to do with it when it comes. No. There's a plan. It's realistic, where the money's going and how you'd spend it and how it would, benefit your life. And it actually, once you do that as well, which is really, really important, you've attached emotion to it because there's purpose to it. So immediately, when you say, okay, another 3,000, there's another 1,000 that I'm going to place on to rent because I want to live a bit better. And then I want to put £500 towards my kid or my own activities on the side or something, and those activities make me so happy, and that's already going to bring you a sense of relief or joy. And then there's £500 in savings or whatever, and that £500 in savings towards your travels or whatever can give you that sense of relief, so you feel less stressed because you're like, okay, that money's coming in, and so you're not stressing so much more. So automatically, just by doing this, you're attaching emotion and purpose to the things that you want, which makes your ability to attract it that much greater. So that's the first things that I want you to do. Just sit down, brain dump, figure out what the bottlenecks are, look at what you're doing and give everything a purpose. Look at what it is exactly within that bigger goal that you need or want. And that is how you kind of get around the first goal. And I think this one is so important not to sort of rush through. It's important to continuously come back to the goal, the actual sort of like end goal of the manifestation, because sometimes we find that they change, especially when we start working towards them and we start aligning ourselves with them. We realize, actually, I think I can do better than that, or actually I think I've shorted myself a little bit on that. Maybe I can do better. Maybe I need more, maybe a little less, whatever it might be. But the point is that it gives us time to reflect, and it gives us time to continuously come back and keep ourselves in check. And that is very important. And another thing it does is it makes it so much easier for us to know exactly when the du'as and the manifestation has been heard and is present in your life. Because here's another thing that tends to happen. We say, I want to lose weight. And then we go out and we make a big poo. And so actually, in theory, you've lost weight. So your manifestation has been answered. So it's also, it's very important to understand when when the manifestation has been answered, because a lot of us will say, I could really need another tenner or use another tenner. And then we might go out and we'll get a gift card for another tenner. We might find another tenner in like a pocket in a purse that we haven't checked in a while. And so we kind of get these little hints that Allah is constantly listening to us, but we're not receiving it in that way because we're not being precise. So we don't understand when the blessings are being answered, even in the smallest ways. And this can lead to a feeling of ingratitude from us because we're like, well, why hasn't it been answered? It's not coming. And meanwhile, Allah has been sending you little signs like, I'm listening to you, but I need you to understand what it is that you want, because then it'll be easier for you to understand when the manifestation is coming. And also, Allah will give you what you're asking for. He already knows what it is that you want. So it's not a question of like, Allah doesn't know what you want. So don't read that into this. But sometimes it's for Allah to know that we know what we want and we understand our intentions with it. The intentions very much come when we say, like, for instance, again, with money, we give it a purpose. This is where it's going to go. It's not just money for the sake of money. It's money because they have a purpose. So our intention is to spend it here, here, and here, and do this, that, and the other. So again, Allah will judge us on these things. So make sure that the canvas that He's judging is well thought out. Don't just plop a bit of paint on a piece of paper and be like, this is it. Look at it. Isn't it beautiful? Think about what color it is, how you want it to look. Is it a blob? Is it a circle? Is it a rectangle? We don't know. But you have to figure that out. And so take your time with it. Make sure that everything lines up, that that it's something that lines up with your integrity as a person, with your intentions, everything like that, with where you see yourself going, also as a servant of Allah, that it's keeping you on track, all of these things. So make sure you do all of that before you go in and just say like, oh, but I'm just trying to manifest more money. But my darling, what is it? What does it mean and why? Really think about these things. It is such important fuel for our manifestations. And it is such important fuel for our manifestations because it helps us understand ourselves and our needs so much better. And it helps us set a much clearer direction for ourselves, which can help us take the necessary steps and do the necessary alignment work and mindset work to get to that goal so much quicker. So please don't rush yourself when you're trying to set your goal. You need to know what it is that you want. You need to determine exactly what it is. You can be as precise as you want in this. The only thing that I will sort of say in all of this, the little caveat at the very end, the little loop, is while I'm saying be as specific and all of these things, I want you, of course, it's one of the later steps in the framework is, there's an element of surrendering, right? So we can definitely say, I'd like another £500 a month more. Here's where it's going to go to. So you'd set the £500 or more. And if it's not correct for me, then guide me in another direction. And then you are opening the door for Allah to improvise and create better opportunities for you and ways for these things to happen that you may not have seen possible. So it's very important that in the specificity, you're always opening it back up to Allah. You want what you want. We're not going to change that. Okay, but we're always in the du'as when we're sitting down, and to make that du'a, we're always opening it up back to Allah, and we're saying, this is what I want, but if you see something that I don't see in what I've asked for, then I ask you to guide me towards something better. Okay, but this again is why it's so important for you to sit down and understand your why, because while we don't have the ability of foresight, we can look at our intentions, and Allah is the facilitator. So if we really want something, Allah will facilitate, most of the times at least, Allah will facilitate. But when we're opening it back up, when allowing ourselves not to get too stuck in the details, you can be specific. That doesn't mean the details have to align 100%. So while you might be like, I want my kid to have the braces from this dentist, Allah might be like, you know what, I've got a better dentist and it's actually also a bit cheaper, and I'm going to open a door for that person. So actually it comes down to work out cheaper for you, which means you don't necessarily have to manifest the amount of money that you think you have to. It might be a little bit less. Do you see what I mean? I hope that makes sense for you. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for you. I really wanted to come in with this because I see so many people saying, but I just want this, I just want that. And it's such generic, general terms that I'm like, what is it? What does it mean for you? I can't remember if I said that at the beginning. There was like 2 things that might come up for you when I say, you know what, I'm going to talk about that a different time. I'm not going to do that in this episode because it is a bit more of a deeper subject. So if you remembered that from the beginning, no, you didn't. I didn't say anything. Just leave it be. It is what it is now. And I'm going to stop talking about it now because I feel like I'm making it worse for myself. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't done so already, please leave me a review. It does help any future listeners who might come across this podcast to see and understand whether or not this is something that they would enjoy listening to as well. And until next time, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.